funding to be able to allow for all of the election jurisdictions, from the most sophisticated, well-funded county in Ohio to the least, to make sure they can train their staff, they can upgrade their equipment when needed, and they can provide for other security provisions that'll make their system secure.
And then you mentioned the Illinois State Database. The issue of who gets to vote is a big one, as you know. It's constantly being, debated in the courts now. All the different kinds of voter restriction laws there are out there. But if somebody can mess with the database and make it a problem at the place of voting, that's a big concern, right? I mean, ultimately, they did not succeed this time, but that they could even breach is reason for worry.
So it's a reason to be aware and certainly vigilant, but there are protections that states can and have been putting in place. Backups of their voter list, monitoring of the activity and going in and out of their voter list, creating for better prevention methods, better security protocols for those who have authorized access to the voter list, for instance, the county board. Those are ways that states are protecting against that, and even if there was an intrusion, that it would likely be detected pre-election, and it would be fixed ahead of time. But that being said, the states, the counties are going to need to be extremely vigilant about this, to be ready for those kinds of attacks, because I don't think there's anyone who thinks that they're going to stop.
What about the companies that make the voting machines? How much oversight and regulation and security do they have?
Well, in most cases, machines need to be certified by a federal entity in most states prior to being deployed. But to be honest, the voting machine market has been dominated by about three companies recently, and that's not a really effective market. What I think many of us are hoping is that there are more options in the marketplace so that savvier government consumers of election machines who are buying new machines will have more choices, can ask good questions about the security of the systems, the transparency of the processes, the ability to upgrade or swap out components as new, more secure components become available.
I
think those are
interesting about this thing.
Concerns that voters
I downloaded
and
the footage
counties and
from
states have about
Saturday
the
when we
voting
went
machines,
shopping.
and probably the best way to fix it is through market forces with
And with the
more and better
timestamps,
options available to voters and to government.
I know how much time we spent driving.
In cybersecurity.
You know how much time we spent driving? An hour and 10 minutes.
Protect Ohio State University.
On Saturday when we went to Lancaster.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of hard to believe, isn't it?
They were fishing.
Yeah, because you go, don't answer it. You're going to have an accident one day.
Yeah, that's right.
Stupid phone.
So much of cybersecurity relates to human factors, as you and many of your listeners know.
Don't answer it.
So it's really important.
You can answer it, check it when you get to the store.
It's not.
We get a
Let it
regular
ring.
stream of funding in to provide states and counties to be able to regularly train their staff, their workers, some of whom are temporary, so they can understand exactly what they should and shouldn't be doing. Good password.
Yeah, but I mean, just leave it until you get somewhere. It will stop ringing if you don't answer it. It's just...
And again, this is a never-ending thing now. This isn't like there's no time when we're ever going to be able to relax about this again.
You can probably schedule a day on the calendar every year to be talking about this, because we're going to be talking about it every year as long as we're holding elections and as long as we're using technology. And we're going to be using technology in elections from here on out. There's no way that we could take technology out of the process.
Well, David Becker, thanks for talking about it today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
David Becker, Executive Director and founder of the Center for Election Innovation and Research. It's a nonprofit organization that studies and works to improve elections. More Tech Tuesdays coming up, so stay with us. This is All Sides with Dan Fisher on 89.7 NPR News.
Okay, there's some things you can do. I just, let's see. Let me get my list here and let me tell you for a minute. We need our bags. Hang on, just one kind of quiet down a moment. So I was rushing through everything for... Okay, we need
or the UK or Sri Lanka, wherever. You cannot make national security a partisan issue, and it really has been the case in Sri Lanka since you've had this complete stasis in politics since October last year.
Right. So Omar, explain to us a little bit more about what Zachary just said about how this has become, up until Sunday, a partisan issue. What is he talking about?
Well, I mean, there's as your previous guest mentioned, I mean, there's an ongoing kind of feud, constitutional crisis between the prime minister and the president, and going into election season now, I mean, there's continued issues between different, political entities that want to hold on to power in Sri Lanka. There's the former Rajapaksa family, including the former defense minister Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who wants to run for office, and there's going to be kind of continued push and pull, I guess, around this issue of terrorism and whose fault this is and who's soft on terrorism and things like that. I do think when the intelligence came in April or something like that, it was probably received a bit differently by those in power, because there's a kind of ongoing culture of anti-Muslim violence in the country. There hasn't really been any attacks on Christians. There hasn't been plots of this nature, suicide bombs going off in hotels and things like that for at least since the middle of the war. So I'm kind of almost giving the benefit of the doubt to those that received this intel to basically say, maybe told themselves that this was not a credible threat, because they, we just haven't seen anything like this with these particular targets. The idea of that suicide bombs would go off in hotels and churches targeting Christians, given the context of Sri Lanka and the ethnic relations in Sri Lanka, would have probably been received with a bit of skepticism, I think. And so that might at least partly explain why the memo didn't go to the right people at the right time to kind of act on it. Again, that's just me speculating, but given the kind of context of the country, I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I want to play a little bit more sound here. This is Hemasiri Fernando, Chief of Staff to the Sri Lankan President, speaking to NBC News' Bill Neely just yesterday.
Why weren't the churches protected if you had a
I've
warning?
done do that more often next time.
How many churches could be protected?
Can't believe I found what I, like for the good price here.
Never expected.
It's the last place I thought they would have, like, what I see
Zachary
or something.
respond to that. I mean, he was acknowledging
Are we
that they
done?
were informed,
Yeah.
but they just didn't expect that it could be something of this
I wanted to
magnitude.
do it fast, but
Jack,
then
in the
I did my own
imagination
checkout
here
and I messed up,
of
so
people who are in charge of national security of a
that's
country.
all right.
What lessons are other nations to learn from this?
Yeah,
so I'm
it's
staying
a
within
hard
my
one for
budget here, but I got myself.
any security force, because you're going, they have to defend an infinite number of soft targets. The bombings
Well, it
took
looks like it
place,
could really rain hard
churches
today.
in 3 different cities, as well as hotels in Colombo. So
If it rains
that
hot, I
was
leave
the
them on the
security
porch. I
forces
don't want them to be beat down.
But very clearly,
Well, not rain hard,
because of
but
the
rain.
partisan
It's kind of, that's why I had geraniums before, because they can take it, but those kind of, the impatiens, they don't take rain very well.
I'd like to pick up
They
on
get destroyed quite easily.
about this. This organization that has been blamed for this really gets started in 2014, 2015 as a response to
I can actually just put them on the porch when they get really bad winds and stuff.
ultra-nationalist Buddhist and Sinhalese organizations that begin to start these sectarian conflicts. And you have to understand there's a direct link to these groups, these radical groups, to what we saw in Myanmar with Wiratu and the 969 movement. A shared Pali language, Theravada Buddhism has always lent itself to these exchanges. And these groups really modeled themselves on the radical groups that began to target the Rohingyas in Myanmar. And so groups like the NTJ emerge in order to defend the interests of the Muslim community and protect them, because from 2014 through 2018, the Sri Lankan security forces at best did not come in into defending the Muslim community, and at worst really turned a blind eye to these pogroms against them. And that's how all of these radical groups really get started, is coming to the defense of their religion, what they consider to be a defensive jihad. What's interesting is then how do they make the next leap from kind of going after Buddhist targets to then focusing on a larger, more radical agenda.
Yeah, I'm Megan Chakrabarty. This is On Point. Amar, is that it? So pick up on the thought that Zachary Buza just left us with, that how do they make the leap? I mean, it sounds as if that we have a situation in Sri Lanka and other nations, as Zachary Buza was talking about, that is ripe for accepting the involvement of ISIS, and that's potentially how they make that leap.
Yeah, no, a lot of these organizations, and the way the Muslim, the way Muslim politics works in Sri Lanka as well, is that they have very
As soon
much
as I get
tried
to
to
it, I make us
enter
this movie,
politics.
okay?
They very much try to
The easiest
engage
way to get on
with
the
the
trains.
broader
I'm in
political
no hurry. I
system.
want to get out.
I know,
Therefore,
I
for
just
the
get you
rain
your
is
smoothie when it's
local Tamil activists have always criticized, for example, different political parties in Sri Lanka, basically saying, this is just a waste of time, that you're never going to break through the structure of the Sinhala Buddhist kind of elite that functions in Sri Lanka, that you're never really going to have a say, your people are never really going to, get any real self-determination or minority rights, whereas the Muslims have always very much tried to engage with the political system. And I think a lot of these groups also, in addition to responding to anti-Muslim violence, have also responded to other Muslim political leaders to basically say, we're not like these guys. They're wasting their time with politics and trying to engage with the mainstream. I think we need to do a different kind of activism, and that's how a lot of these tiny groups popped up. The move to violence, I think, it's difficult to say exactly what
So,
the violence, but
Samson decided today to be silent.
returnees from Syria.
So anytime you ask him a question, either shook his head or he thinks that's his news. Because the other day I told him he talked too much in my ears, and
Silence is golden.
no, he gives me the silent.
Sleeper cells for some time. There have been
Silent
rumors
treatment.
of sleeper cells in Sri Lanka
Oh,
back to at least
not
2015.
trying to smile, and he doesn't get
And
his...
so who knows if those are the same returnees or if they're different.
Well, after he tells me the Russian alphabet for the 10th time, and he gets me on this mess, I'm getting dark. And somebody's screaming in my ear from the other side. It's just overload on my whole brain. I need to concentrate on what I'm doing when I want to work fast. So,
Break here. I want to get to one call. Maurice calling from Montreal, Canada. Maurice, you're on the
50
air.
cents of gas, but we just
Hi.
don't need that very often
Thanks
anyhow.
for taking my call.
Go ahead.
I would just love to share with all of your listeners my experience in Sri Lanka, because I feel it may be a little different than the average Canadian
Woke up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. I don't do that very often, but I get...
I am married to a Sri Lankan man, and we run a fair trade organic business here in
Afterwards,
Canada.
I went right
So
back
I've
to sleep.
visited Sri Lanka with my daughters, to their grandparents, to see our producers a number of times. I believe
I
it's 8
slept rather
times.
well last night.
My
I actually
experience
had
of
a
Sri
pretty
Lanka
deep sleep.
and the Sinhalese Buddhists, the Catholics, the Tamils, the Muslims, it's quite different from what we hear on the news, and in my opinion, there are a lot of propaganda here in the West.
Sometimes I'm
The
awake
country
all
is
night.
beautiful, it is not divided, people are living peacefully, it's resilient.
It helps at the beginning to fall asleep. Usually I fall asleep a little bit,
Unfortunately, the international community has
but
meddled
then I
in
wake
Sri
up
Lanka, which is not
after
surprising,
20
since
minutes
they
or
do
so,
have a
and I'm
history
wide
of
awake.
hundreds
It's weird.
of divide and rule politics, caused by international, governments, and it's no different today. In my opinion, these terrorist attacks in other countries are often aided and abetted by the international community. There's a lot of evidence of funding, of arming of terrorist groups all over the world, and a lot of the time it's proxy warfare. My message to Sri Lankan people and to the world would be not to fall prey to this kind of divide and rule politics. We've seen it before many times.
Yeah. Well, Maurice, we've got to take a quick break here, and thank you so much for your call. That's Maurice calling us from Montreal. We're at 1-800-423-8255. That's 800-423-TALK. We're talking about the latest about what we know regarding the terrible coordinated terrorist attacks in Sri Lanka that happened on Easter Sunday. The Islamic State is now claiming responsibility. According to the Associated Press, the Islamic State is now claiming to have identified the attackers as well. They put out a fuller statement on their news agency on Tuesday, detailing where each attacker was allegedly deployed. So what's your question about what Islamic State's involvement in the Sri Lankan attack means for the rest of the international community as well? We're at 800-423-8255. We'll be right back. This is On Point.
Good afternoon. I'm Amy Turkovich. This is 89.7 NPR News. It's 12:38. And join us at 1 o'clock for another hour of On Point. A Newark, New Jersey high school principal gave bullied kids a way to wash their clothes, and a lot more. Get ready for a lesson in inspiration. A high school principal brings a free laundromat and some bullying relief to students. That conversation is from 1 until 2. Stay with us on 89.7 NPR News. And cloudy skies for today, a high of 73. There's a chance of a shower or thunderstorm popping up this afternoon. Partly cloudy and 45 tonight.
Support for
I'll start
WOSU
paying
comes
then.
from listeners.
Yes.
You can give online at WOSU.org. Support for the State House News Bureau stories heard today on 89.7 comes from Medical Mutual, providing more
I
than
tell you what, since this week I just bring the stuff in the kitchen, I take care, I bring the rest downstairs, I do it
Take care
all.
of that, then because I gotta change clothes yet. So.
Okay, you don't have to, I'm not going to be rushed through putting my stuff away. You guys go and do your thing. Just bring it in and I take care of the rest, okay? Because I can't take this pressure, I need to organize myself.
Should we raise taxes on the wealthy or enact a
Just
universal
go and do
basic
what you
income?
think you
Discuss
need
these
to do.
policy ideas with experts. Join us for Dialogue, Basic Income for All,
It's going to be
April
more
30th
when
at
I'm
6
done with
p.m.
I'm just
at the
interested in
Gateway
this
Center.
little corner here, the
Registration
front.
at
It's our entrance, so
WOSU.org/dialogue.
that's what I think we got cleaned up. And
Support for
for the
on-point
mulch, just put a few flowers in and it will look nice.
home improvement professionals for a
Don't
variety
have
of
to
home
do a ton of
projects,
flowers
from
anymore,
minor
just a few
repairs to
pretty
major
pots, and
remodels. Homeowners
much
can
easier
read
to take
reviews
care
of
of.
local pros and book
Don't
appointments
have to dig
online
and sweat.
at homeadvisor.com. And Geico offering auto
I will
insurance
read it
coverage
out
for
and then
cars,
do that,
trucks, or
so.
SUVs, and providing 24/7 customer.
All right. Kids are probably starving.